One good turn deserves another, they say. They also say the devil made me do it. Who's saying all this shit, man?
They?
Yeah, they. Certainly not me. Be saying stuff like dookie and farts. People are like, dude, get an education. And I'm like, nah, homie, I'm good. Anyway, we have certainly gotten a drillion turns and many a devil in this series, the Conjuring series, in the Conjuring universe, or as we have at some points called it, the Unering universe. Yeah, man, the newest installment came out called The Conjuring. The devil made me do it. Is there a 3 in there? I didn't even notice.
Well, no, there isn't.
In some ad stuff, there might be. Definitely not when we saw it.
No.
That or I missed.
Nah, it's not.
Big ass number. Anyway, The Conjuring, the central Conjuring movies have only had 3 installments.
There's been 7,000 Conjuring movies, but somehow there's only been 3 main
actual Conjuring movies. Yeah, man. I gotta say that in another review for Randall Comes Home, we kind of lauded how it took a risk. This one took another risk, I gotta say, man. Mm-hmm. It's very different to the other Conjuring movies and really to the other Conjuring universe sub movies or branch movies, you know. Really there's no haunting going on here. It's kind of like this occult, I guess, pseudo intermingled with some sort of crime solving drama. I guess it just happens to have our main characters in it. Of course, this one is actually based on, all the main Conjuring ones are based on the actual case. Of course, they take some mad liberties with them, which is good because probably they would just suck.
Mad ass.
if they didn't. But this one derives its source material from a case that actually got a lot of attention. Hence the term "the devil made me do it" being more popular in our American lexicon. So yeah, man, if you haven't seen the movie, the plot is about this exorcism that is not necessarily completed before our boy Patrick Wilson here in the movie, of course,
has a
heart attack, and he in his throes of agony sees that the spirit has transferred to somebody else, and that somebody else proceeds to commit a murder while possessed, and basically they're kind of on the trail of trying to prove possession for the sake of getting this guy off of a straight murder rap, and that's what the bulk of the movie is. This couple trying to find a means through this investigation of theirs, this impromptu investigation of theirs, to solve or to find some sort of tangible evidence that could be used in court. Now, I gotta say that the idea of the court thing is kind of like glossed over at the end, namely because probably in reality there was nothing really there. There was more than of the times. Like nowadays, I don't see anybody going, "Oh yeah, certainly they were possessed by somebody."
Yeah.
I more see somebody going like Trisha Paytas did it because she's insane, and that would be like, "Damn, that's true."
You're
homie.
dating it, guy? Thanks.
Oh no, her insanity's timeless.
That's it's timeless, true.
Yeah. But certainly back then, I could see a jury going, "Yep, certainly convinced the hell out of me."
Yeah.
When the movie won't have to put up with that, they just kind of
now it would be like I identified as a demon at that time.
Yeah, demonkin.
Yeah.
We don't see that. I would have liked to see that resolution in court, even if it was movie-fied, because I feel that that's kind of the whole reason they were doing this.
Yeah, I agree.
So they do. It's not something that I was like, damn it, they didn't do that. But it would have been kind of nice, seeing as how that kind of set everything in motion, and it felt relevant to the whole point, and it would have increased the credibility of these characters in this universe. Yeah, but so that's a thing that kind of is left hanging. Another thing I noticed immediately after finishing this movie is that our main villain, her reasoning for doing the things she does is never explicitly stated. I guess we can infer that she was doing the things she did for like the reason most evil people in movies do things, and for power an exchange, a deal with a demon, but there's never any express thing stated other than, as you pointed out to me when I brought that up to you, that it was born out of a curiosity given the backstory we're given to her.
Yeah.
But even then, you got to ask, yeah, but what is she getting out of this? Why is she summoning this demon to do these? What is the trade-off? What does she get? We never get that. I think that would have been nice to get maybe not a concrete answer, but maybe like
Something.
a little more of a solid, tangible feel for why she was doing it. Otherwise, we're just left to wonder, I guess. I feel that was kind of missing. That being said, and we'll talk about more things that may or may not have been good in it, but that being said, I think this is yet another solid entry into the thing. As always, the heart of these movies is this couple. I think they're super strong characters, and their story arc is pretty fucking strong, as it always tends to be, and so we get that here with them. And I think this is a really, really well shot movie. I was kind of fearing because, this was directed by the guy that directed Curse of La Llorona, which is a movie that you could just kind of pretend doesn't exist because, some studio guy decided to ramrod it into this universe. So I was like, that guy. There's so many other people that have worked in the Conjuring universe you could give it to. But this is a very well directed movie, at least I thought. So it has its own distinct look. That's for another thing. It doesn't really look like the other Conjuring movies. It has a very distinct look. Yeah, it just looked and felt like a very well done picture. So there's that. And it has some really good horror set pieces along the way. But again, I think you let me know this before, and we checked right now, and the response is kind of mixed to this movie. And I think a lot of that has to do that it does stray from the, I don't want to say formula, but from what is most gravitated towards in the Conjuring universe, and that's the haunting idea, these demons,
Spooks.
torturing and persecuting these
Goblins.
people until they're taken down by badasses like our Pappy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen here, really. And at the end of the day, the demon is kind of playing second fiddle to the Conjurer, which is this occultist character, which I thought was pretty cool, by the way. But I think that different approach may be the reason for this mixed response. What's your take, man?
I think I have to mull a little.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I do think that it's possibly my least favorite of the three.
Of the core? Or
of the core.
The core three?
Yeah.
I would say that.
I think that like the main thrust of the thing that starts the events, that being the crime that happens, basically, is like super uninteresting at its core. And I was kind of worried because I was like, is that just going to be the whole movie, like stretched out? But no, it ends up being focusing on Patrick Wilson and his wife, thankfully, and their investigation, which is good because ultimately it could have been very uninteresting. I don't think it's bad, mind you, that thing, but I think ultimately the way they did it was wise because focusing on just that would have been kind of bland.
You're talking about the crimes that happened by the possessed?
The guy,
yeah.
But it's ultimately just kind of used to start this investigation, which is good. But I did find that part of it was a little uninteresting. So it was kind of like taking a while for me for stuff to click until it kind of, was like, okay, it's about this, not necessarily that. That was just kind of used as a launching point for this. But they do still keep them in the loop, I could see someone, that not being an issue for someone that that's not a thing, But for me, I was kind of like, okay. But I think that's like the only negative I have. I didn't really find anything negative. I just think for some reason there's something about it that is, I think, just makes it the least interesting for me out of the three.
It does have a different feeling, and that's not just a result of the look of it being vastly different, the way it's shot and all that stuff. It feels like a larger scope in the way it's shot, but also kind of a more solemn and isolated feeling to it than the other ones, which feel more like a populated universe. That's not to say that this is something like, what was that fucking movie with
The Possession?
with Jeffrey Dean? Yeah, The Possession, which felt like nobody existed in the universe. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just suggesting in comparison to the other two Conjuring core Conjuring movies, that felt like a lot more popular. This feels a lot more solemn, and instead of going with atmospherics, they're going with more like a dramatic feel to it, which again is distinctly different, and that's admirable that they would. That's actually good that they would introduce different elements.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be repeating the same thing.
I think it ends up working. It does take a little while to get used to, though.
Yeah, and I think of course, as I've mentioned, I think the reason it works, other than it's well executed, is that these characters are just interesting to be around. The Ed and Lorraine Warren are just interesting characters. They're likable characters, and you know, even if this would have sucked balls, you would have kind of probably stuck around for them. So that says a lot towards them.
I do gotta say that this movie introduced one of my favorite subplots of the entire series.
The thread of Ed having heart attack.
That's Patrick Wilson's shitty heart. I don't know why every time that there was a hint of a threat of his heart exploding a second time, I found it hilarious. Yeah, I don't know why it was infinitely entertaining about his heart nearly exploding.
You know what? And on a more serious note, in regards to that, that's kind of like one of those elements that they use to show exactly how much love they have for each other, and how symbiotic their relationship is, how much they need each other, and it even concludes, quote unquote. There's obviously scenes after it on that note, just to show how well they complement each other. So yeah. It's a source of tension and humor, apparently.
I don't know why.
But at the same time, it also serves the movie quite well. Now, let's talk about the occultist, which is the main villain here. She is basically what has called this demon forth, which is more... The demon here is more like the object of a curse, or something that's implementing a curse that needs this requisite number of sacrifices. Again, it would have been nice to know what the end game to that was, but we just assumed that occultists are going to do occulty things.
They mentioned that it's not here voluntarily.
Right. Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But we don't really get to see the demon reacting to it not being an involuntary thing. Now, it does apparently revel in what it's doing or just want to destroy things or be the subject of puppeteering, but we don't really get a feel for why or what it's doing that for. Just who it's doing it for. That would have been nice to know, because like the Annabelle demon, we know why it's there, and why it's doing the things it does, and what its end game is, and who does benefits or doesn't benefit from it, or I guess doesn't benefit in that case. And here it's just, we know that this person is using it, but I think where they dropped the ball is either one, not giving us a hint as to its reaction to being used, or better yet, let us know what the occultist end game is. That being said, I think the occultist is kind of pretty cool in terms of a villain. There's definitely a presence to her. There's definitely a more, close to home presence. But menace to her, because it is a physical person that just happens to wield this kind of power. And the power that she's wielding is pretty rad. I kind of wish we would have seen more of it. Not that it's lacking in the movie, but by what I mean, seen more of it, is that she has this ability to... And this is kind of like exacerbated by the fact that Lorraine is a psychic. She has this ability to project basically her mind to other places. And when you introduce Lorraine to that, they can switch places, and things can be manipulated in this sense. So that's pretty cool, and it leads to a lot of like neat little elements in terms of horror set pieces that I would have liked to see more of that kind of like switch element in play, you know. Not to say that they don't employ it there, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And visually, of course, she's pretty striking, not in the beauty way, but in the gruesome way. So yeah, that was pretty. What would you think about the occultist? No, I'd bang.
Yeah, I'd probably bang too. She was alright.
Bag of bones.
She was alright. I didn't mind.
Oh, yeah.
She gets pretzeled at the end, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, she does get pretzel, boy.
I found some of her powers kind of weird. Like she teleports at one point. I was like, that was weird. But then she doesn't at the point where she's like chasing someone. And I was like, should probably teleport.
Physical.
Yeah, when she's like far away, and then she like teleports behind the dude and slices his neck. And then later she's chasing what's her face, and she doesn't teleport. I'm like, could probably teleport there. It'd be nice. It's a little weird, but it's cool looking, so I don't really care.
So my face of doubt. Like it?
No.
Pretty scary, huh?
I do agree.
Next Conjuring movie.
I do think I do agree that there should have been at least a little more context into what's going on with them. I mean, I kind of get it. Like, you know, they even kind of hint at it that it's like the cop I think says it. It's like these people are people and they're just bad. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but it would have added a lot more to the character, just to at least know a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because in the whole series, they at least give you something. You know,
there's something to be said about not being informed in certain movies about certain things. It can definitely work to
it can
create something more. I just think we needed to at least know what her end game was.
I agree.
Or show, again, like I said previously, show what her relationship was to this demon, seeing as how the demon was being forced to do things. That at least would have been like, it would have elicited better questions than just why is she doing this.
If anything, in that scene where the old dude, her dad, explains shit, if they had just pushed the point more that he pushed her to that, just pushing that point a little more could have just been like, okay, it's just that, you know. But it's just kind of a line, you know, and you're just kind of like, okay, so why did she do like after it ended? That was your question. But it's cool, you know. It's not really a huge problem, but it is something you notice. Like that was
that's kind of the weird thing, because you understand inherently why. It's not that it's badly delivered or anything like that. You understand the pull of curiosity towards evil.
Yeah,
I think everybody understands that, and everybody understands teenage rebellion, and everybody understands being raised a certain way, and then purposely pushing against it. You know, all that stuff is understandable. But like you say, there's something intrinsic. Maybe it's the things I said, maybe it's the things you said, or maybe it's all of them together. That if they would just added that little bitty bit of coloring, of understanding to the character.
It doesn't fully click all the way.
Yeah. Just that little itty bitty bit of shading or coloring to the character would have been a little bit more satisfactory in terms of that arc, you know. And like, and I said too, like, since this is supposed to be for saving someone from improper justice being doled out. Also, that scene at the court, instead of just like, here's this guy at court now, this guy that was accused of murder, but they're going with like how did they prove to the fucking jury that he was possessed? You know, that's kind of important. I feel like,
I mean, that's
the whole reason they went on this whole thing.
He still got convicted and he still served time. Maybe
a manslaughter charge is way different than the murder charge, you know? That's like the difference between me running you over on purpose because I hate you versus I bumped you because you're mega fat and I couldn't miss you. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, well, he hit him, but, you know, clearly the guy's in the way. Look at him. He's an orb.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'm just fucking running you over again. Back and forth. I'm like, damn, dude.
I feel that they just didn't want to freaking maybe kill too much time on that, but
I don't know.
I agree.
It'd be interesting to see if
It's a little.
that's a deleted scene or some shit.
It definitely isn't.
It might be, man.
Nah.
You know, the nun had some very important scenes cut out of it. You're like, God, you needed that scene. So maybe they did
I'm
that
like
here.
90% sure it's not. Just the way it rolls, I don't think it is. But maybe.
Maybe it is. We'll find out, I guess. The point is, those elements I think would have been intrinsic to it. What else you got, man? Good, bad, ugly?
Oh, ugly? I got one.
Besides the fat
damn it
ghost guy.
There's a fat
that falls
ghost
hilariously.
There's a fat ghost guy in this movie.
Hey, that fat ghost guy was better than the fat ghost from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Well, the fat ghost from Scary Stories didn't get any time to do anything.
That's why. I mean, that's one reason it was better.
Yeah, he was cool looking, but they didn't do shit with him.
Was it a guy?
It was a chick, I think.
Yeah. This guy's better.
Fat guy, although there was titties. Maybe it was a guy.
I don't know. Fat guy?
Yeah, this fat guy, he's gross. If you want to see fat naked guys chasing dudes, this is a movie for you. I will say that, I mean, obviously this entire series is full of moments where you're like, come on, guy, that didn't happen. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the fat guy was one of those for me. I was like, come on, guys, this didn't happen, the fat guy. Although I do, in my heart of hearts, believe that he did fall and hit the corner, hit the corner of the freaking
that fat guy hits hard, guy.
Yeah, you think that fat guy was real?
Yeah, definitely. The only thing that was real.
It's the only thing that happened for real. The fat guy. It was pretty cool though. I mean, normally I don't like fat naked men in general, though I am one. But he was pretty cool.
A lot of that's your Fat Man review.
Yeah, fat.
A lot of people have mentioned. Excuse me.
Terrible. Content.
Have mentioned that the movie begins in a strong way that is never matched again in the movie. Yeah, it starts with an exorcism, in case you haven't seen it. Which, why the hell are you watching a conversation about the fucking movie if you haven't seen it? What is that? Anyway. It starts with a fucking exorcism that's, I guess a little bit more visual than the rest of the movie would be, one would argue. And that exorcism, I guess, would be a little bit more in line with what you would expect in the Conjuring movie before the movie kind of takes on this quasi-procedural, I guess, for the lack of better words, structure. Do you think that affected the viewing experience or not?
Not really. I think it was a strong opening, but I don't think it was like a deal breaker. It's like, oh, the rest sucks now. Especially like we just saw, Annabelle Comes Home,
Mm-hmm.
which had a slower pace to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was expecting something like that, something a little slower paced. Maybe that affected me a little. I will say that this does have I don't want to say slow pace, but it's not a spook a second, but it is definitely a way faster pace than Annabelle.
Yeah, it does go at a faster clip, but for people that are expecting Conjuring Universe antics, like you say, spook a second, it's definitely not going to hand you that.
Yeah.
You're kind of following these people. You're kind of piecing little things here and there together. So yeah, you're right about that.
But it is a strong opening. I think if anything, it hooked me because I was like, oh shit, interest is gonna happen. So I don't think that really affected it. I will say I want to mention effects real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did see that like contortion scene of the exorcism online. They use that heavily on the promotional stuff, especially on Facebook.
Right.
Man, that effect looked like ass on the ads. Like terrible. It actually looked fine in the movie.
A lot of those fucking ads, especially the ones that are like for the phone.
Yeah.
What is that? It's something about effects and that size or something that look like fucking ads.
Like that effect on like the small ads, it looked like plastic skin, like terrible looking. And I remember seeing that and all the reactions were like the laughter, and I was like, yeah, this looks terrible. I don't even disagree with that. I was like, oh, that's gonna be bad. That scene, at least, visually looks fine in the movie.
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. So yeah, don't judge it by those ads that were everywhere.
That goes to show you how ad campaigns are run by wieners most of the time. Wieners that in that case were like, oh, we got to show this scene that's Conjuring-y because the rest of the movie really isn't, and people are going to be turned off by it. The result of doing that is the movie went in expecting that, and then they got a different movie, and then people are like, what is this? You know what I'm saying?
There is one pretty bad effect, though,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when Lorraine almost falls off a cliff, and
Green screen.
her boy Pat Wills saves her, and they're literally just laying down on a green screen.
Yeah, that's green screen.
It's pretty bad for like a second.
Seen better green screen on YouTube.
And then I've seen better green screen on our videos, and we don't even have green screen.
This is a green screen right now. You didn't know that? Shit, boy.
Is it?
It's top notch.
Look, it's so good that
So
it actually
good,
moves.
yeah, nothing gonna happen. So we fuck with it.
Anyway, there's bad like from the head front, but then there's an overhead shot where homie's legs are just mad fuzzy. I was like, oh man, that's bad. I think that's like the only really bad effect though.
You know what else I just thought of? In the movie, the cultists, we do know one thing apparently, is that she needs to complete 3 sacrifices, and they have to fit a certain structure, you know. But technically, she didn't even complete the first one. The kid didn't fucking do anything. Is the sacrifice? Really, it's having the people kill someone. That's the sacrifice by possession. But the kid didn't kill anyone.
Well, I think they counted because the chick killed the other chick.
I guess, man.
In the forest.
Yeah.
But you're right. The kid was supposed to be. Yeah, that's weird, huh?
And really, that brings up a question about because when they go on their investigation trying to find out what the fuck this thing is, because it's all linked to this totem that the witch used or the occultist used. They find through tapping their sources and Vera Farmiga's fine ass that there has been a previous case where a totem was used. So this brings up the question: is that case linked to the occultist? Later we find out that it is, and that's what sets up this link between. So what the fuck was that case about? Has the occultist been doing this for a while? Presumably. So if so, what was the end game of that particular thing? Is that linked to this series of murders? Those questions are not really answered.
There was also they mentioned that there was events or murders that had happened before, like years before.
Right.
Now they never really.
There is the possibility that because her father was raised, her father had come across this occult field by investigating this cult called the Cult of the Ram, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is maybe that it was linked. That's what she had fallen into specifically. She is using all these horns and stuff in her totem and mandibles and shit like that. So maybe it was linked to that activity.
Well, that was heavily implied because they mentioned that he tried to help the cult.
Right.
He would obviously try to help his daughter. He even says that later.
Right. So the question is, what is that other murder? How is it linked to this specific series of murders, if at all? Is that another... That type of stuff is never... And you don't really need that specific thing answer. It's just a thing that comes up once you don't get this one answer that's super important. Like, why is she doing this ultimately? You're kind of like, well, what about that thing? What is that? Just a thing that I just noticed right now.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is that though I enjoyed this movie...
Let me give you one quick plus.
Okay.
You get a Patrick Wilson being controlled by evil sequence, which we became fond of in the Insidious series. Mm-hmm. I'll say it's not as good as the Insidious one. He gets a little dust in his eye, and then he's got the gruesome eye. And then he goes evil, and then he's got superpowers and destroys an altar with a sledgehammer. I was like, damn, homie!
That was a cool ass shot.
Yeah, but homie's got the weak ass heart, and somehow can destroy a freaking stone altar.
He's Pappy, gang.
That's true. Anyway.
Yes. There's a lot of questions that come up when watching this movie. Some can be ignored. Some you're wondering what the fuck. You already know which ones those are. That being said, it's not a movie that it's not a thing that broke the movie for me at all. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It is a movie that I think I'm gonna have to watch again because it is ultimately kind of a very different tone for the Conjuring movies. So that has to be considered. I did not expect such a different approach to this particular movie. The strongest thing as ever remains this relationship between our core characters. They're awesome. They're just interesting to watch, period. You know, whatever they throw at them is pretty interesting. There is, I think, maybe an over-reliance on making this movie. Oh, let's say over-reliance, but maybe it didn't need to look as big as it did. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. The movie's beautiful looking, but maybe a more intimate feel would have elicited a bit more of a horror-y response.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's kind of like a separation that comes with a bigger
with scope and look of So that being said, I did enjoy this movie quite a bit. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
I'm gonna go straight 7. I'm starting with the rating first. I think the fat guy was pretty on fleek.
Fat guy point.
I think most of my positives are gonna stand with the two characters, in that they are very interesting and they do carry a lot of the movie. Not to say that the movie is bad, but it does have moments that, like we said, make you question things. And for me personally, parts of it were a little uninteresting. Never boring or bad, mind you, just slightly uninteresting. But thankfully those characters are there to make you go, I'm fine with it, you know. Greatest subplot of all time is Patrick Wilson's impending heart attack. I don't know why I found that endlessly amusing. We kept making quips about his heart exploding, even though he's our boy. Yeah, there's just something about how they play them, and you know, it's funny because after we watched this, you mentioned that you read a transcript of the actual, what's his name, Ed?
Oh yeah. No, this was it has nothing to do with this specific case.
Yeah.
But I did years ago, like almost 7 years ago, come across a pamphlet book, like it was a very thin book, and it was a transcript of a speech he gave.
Yeah.
Ed Warren, the real Ed Warren, and it was like reading a Donald Trump diatribe. Like no sentence was ever complete, no thought ever finished. They even transcribed his ums and pauses and awkward, you know, like obviously doesn't know how to finish a thought moments, and it just was one of the, I don't know, like most confusing rambles I have ever read. I was like, what is this? And I didn't know who the fuck he was at the time. Even being a fan of horror, and of course, by default of that, being a fan of stuff, the supernatural and all that stuff, I had not paid much mind to Ed. I was aware of them. I'll say this: I was aware of them in the sense that at one point I read about, say, like the Amityville murder, and I knew that there was some sort of, but I didn't even know him by name. I had forgotten that factoid, which meant nothing to me back then either. But I did come across that, and I was like, what the fuck? And, of course, you know, glad that that's not the version of him we're seeing in the movies.
So it's sometimes it's good that these are based on true event movies.
Definitely in the case of the Conjuring universe.
Take freaking liberties, because otherwise these movies would be super unimpressive and lame as shit, or 99% lies.
Yeah, true. So keep that fiction high on the Conjuring universe. I'll be interested to see what comes next in the Conjuverse.
I hope it's the fat guy. I hope he gets a
fat guy.
I hope it's the fat guy, dead fat guy from this movie, and the pizza man from Annabelle Comes Home.
Together, it's a buddy.
A buddy corpse film.
Damn, homie, I'd watch that.
Shit,
pretty interesting.
Pretty good.
You know what? I'm gonna drop my rating to a 7.
Get a 7
as well. Yeah. You know, not because I was like suddenly like, this sucks, but because I remembered that I gave Annabelle Comes Home an 8, and I feel like
the better movie.
There shouldn't be a 0.5 deficit there. Should be more like a point deficit.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe I'll even boost up Annabelle comes out to an 8.5.
I give it an 8.5.
Let's
Join the
do that.
8.5 club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll join you all around.
I think most of
All around there.
I wanna give it a 6.5.
Damn, homie, hating.
But I really like those characters, so I'm gonna stay at a 7.
You're mad hating all of a sudden.
No, I'm not hating. I'm just being real here.
So tell us what you think about The Conjuring. Devil Made Me Do It.
Mm-hmm.
I like how I totally forgot
Conjuring?
what the fucking name was. Hey, I knew someone that thought they were called, and damn man, she'd seen
Oh no.
2 of them at that point.
Oh no.
She thought they were called The Conjuring.
Ah, what
I
is
was like,
that?
come on, guy, you watched 2 of them already.
Well, it's not like they're saying.
They're not saying Conjuring
the
all the
title.
time, but come on, guy, there's ads. People are talking to you about it. Oh, did you see The Conjuring? Who the hell's saying The Conjuring? I'm just saying,
There's
it was
some
weird.
lame guys out there. Maybe she hangs out with losers.
She was a lesbian, so. Maybe.
What is that? What does that?
Well, I gotta assume she hangs out more with dudes than chicks. She's boning chicks, or I guess tonguing chicks, but hanging out with dudes. So maybe they're a bunch of idiots. See that Conjuring yet? Apparently they're Mexican gangsters too.
They're hanging out with cholos.
Anyway, tell us what you think about cholos in the comment down below. Do they lean?
Yeah.
If so, do it side to side. Anyway, we're out.
Bushy.